On October 7th, the New York Rangers will play a game against the Pittsburgh Penguins in Game 2 of the entire NHL season to kick things off there. That will, of course, be the opening night for the entire NHL, and on that night, we're going to see a very different opening night lineup from what we saw from this past regular season. So I figured in today's video, we would take a look at kind of an early prediction for the New York Rangers opening lineup to begin the 2025-2026 NHL regular season, because I think with the roster changes we have seen there, with all the trades that have happened with JT Miller, we saw Ryan Lindgren get dealt, Jimmy Vesey, Kaapo Kakko, Jacob Trouba. I'm not going to name everyone because we have seen a bunch of different trades. We've also seen a couple signings happen, and we also have seen a pretty major change with the coaching staff, seeing, of course, the New York Rangers part ways with former head coach there in Peter Laviolette, and they went out there and hired the former Pittsburgh Penguins head coach in Mike Sullivan, who was also running Team USA's kind of squad there at the Four Nations Face-Off tournament. But basically, we have seen a massive shift with this kind of core group of players and coaching staff as well. So this team over the last kind of calendar year or so, or a little kind of, less than that, you could say, we have seen a pretty major kind of shift with this franchise as a whole. So like I said, we're going to take a look at my predicted lineup for the New York Rangers to begin this upcoming 2025-26 season. So let's just get right into it here. And first off, we will start off with the defense core. And quickly, I do want to mention, of course, like I said, this is my predicted lineup. So kind of what I'm guessing we will see the New York Rangers kind of go with for opening night on October 7th. And injuries can obviously factor in, signings can factor in here, trades can happen. So things can definitely shift around here. We still have training camp, of course, and preseason as well. So lots of time for certain players to kind of impress a little more and if you earn a spot. So we'll have to wait and see. Things can definitely change. But this is kind of my predicted lineup as of right now for October 7th in, of course, July right now. So we've got plenty of time to go here before the upcoming season. But let's get into things here and start off with the goaltending situation there, which is obviously going to have Igor Shesterkin as a starter and Jonathan Quick as a backup. I don't think anyone is going to argue too much with that. But let's carry on, though, and take a look at the defense core now, where we'll start off with kind of the extra defensemen there, or the kind of healthy scratches, or the guys who are going to be the kind of main call-ups down there in the AHL to begin this upcoming season, in my opinion, which you have guys like, I think maybe Scott Morrow, who's obviously picked up by the Rangers in this kind of massive trade that happened there with Keandre Miller. I do want to see him in the lineup there, but I'm just kind of thinking that he might not, with him being a little inexperienced. They're obviously not having a ton of experience at the NHL level, and also you have Mike Sullivan coming in there, a more kind of veteran head coach. I think they might want to go with some more kind of veteran players, so maybe they don't go with that super kind of young prospect in Scott Morrows. Maybe he is that kind of extra defenseman or starting in Hartford, which, although I don't love that idea, it might be what they end up doing, which may end up working out best for this team. You also got guys like Matthew Robertson, though, Connor Mackey, Derek Pouliot. So, there are some decent kind of, depth defensemen out there on this team right now. Even a guy like, Brandon Scanlon, he's still down there in the AHL. He's in his mid-20s. So I think there are some solid kind of depth defensemen there. If Connor Mackey had to get called up for, 10 games next season there, I don't think that's too big of a deal. So I think there are some kind of solid defensemen down there. Matthew Robertson obviously got a bit of a taste at the NHL level last season there as well. So maybe he gets a bit of a run at some point there. But those are kind of the main, extra defensemen / healthy scratches, or guys that are going to be kind of fighting for some of those kind of bottom pairing spots, in my opinion. So you got kind of Scott Morrow, Brandon Scanlon, you could say, Matthew Robertson, Derek Pouliot, I guess Casey Fitzgerald, but for the most part there, the top guys, Matthew Robertson, I would say Derek Pouliot, and of course, Scott Morrow. Carrying on, though, to the actual bottom pair that I think we're going to see, and again, this is not what I wanted to see, but this is what I'm guessing. So for the third pair on the left side, I'm going with Urho Vakanainen. On the right, Braden Schneider. For the second pair on the left, I'm going with, I think it might be Carson Soucy alongside Will Borgen, and then for the top pair, of course, Gavrikov alongside Adam Fox, finally seeing an amazing, potentially elite top pair defense for this Rangers team. But like I said, this is kind of my predicted lineup. I'm not saying I want this necessarily to happen there, and I've kind of talked about it in past videos where I am definitely more on the side of seeing if this roster is going to kind of sit as it stands right now. More so, I want to see a guy like Braden Schneider kind of go over to the left, so then we don't have to see both Urho Vakanainen and Soucy in the lineup there. I think this team would be a bit stronger with that going on. And then you have a guy like Scott Morrow kind of jump up onto that third pair on the right side there. That's what I would kind of go with. in my opinion, there you keep kind of that top pair the same there with Gavrikov alongside Foxy. Then you go with on the second pair Schneider alongside Borgen. So that kind of is, I would say, a really solid kind of second pair. And then you go with for the third pair on the left side, either Vakanainen or Susi. And then on the right side, you have, of course, Scott Morrow, the young prospect that I really kind of hope does get a strong look there with this team to begin the upcoming season. But like I said, as of right now, my kind of prediction is Scott Morrow will probably be on the outside looking in, and we're going to have, both Susi and Urho in the lineup there. But if I'm wrong, I'll be more than happy to say that. But I just think as of right now, that's kind of my guess on what we're going to see. But we are still so far out, so many different things can obviously still change. And now we'll take a look at my forward lines here, and we'll start off with the players that I think are just kind of on the outside looking in to begin the season. And we have a couple prospects in Gabe Perreault, Brett Berard, and then Brendan Brisson and Johnny Brodzinski. I think there are a few other prospects that maybe, some real competition, but at the end of the day, I don't think the other ones are going to actually make it, but might be called up at some point throughout the season there, but definitely won't begin the season at the NHL level. But we have a couple prospects here like Gabe Perreault and Brett Berard, who I do have off the list, but I think are obviously top kind of call-up candidates if they're not on the team to begin the season, and definitely could be on the team at some point or even right away possibly. But I just think two of the three there out of Hoffman, Berard, and Perreault are going to be left off the opening night lineup there. That's kind of my guess as of right now, with Mike Sullivan possibly going with a more kind of veteran team there. That's kind of my guess as of right now. So obviously preseason and training camp may tell us differently, but I think for right now, we're probably only going to see two of those three, and I do have Hoffman in the lineup there, unlike the other two, and that's not to say Hoffman is a way better prospect or player right now. I just think, his kind of play style might fit the kind of spot I have him in a little better than the other guys there, so that's just kind of why I have, Hoffman in the lineup instead of those guys, because someone like Gabe Perreault, to me, him going in the kind of fourth line role or something like that, to me would be useless. It's kind of pointless there. You might as well throw him in the AHL to actually get lots of ice time there, get top line minutes alongside some top AHL players where he's really going to have a chance to be in the power play and really kind of try his skills out there at the pro level, really get an opportunity to have a lot of the puck there, be a distributor on the power play and at 5-on-5, just tend to be that kind of focal point of the offense there, whereas if he's at the NHL level, he's obviously much lower down the totem pole there and not going to be more likely even on power play 1. So that's why I think maybe a guy like Gabe Perreault isn't in the lineup there to begin the season and may be in the AHL alongside Brett Berard as well. And for Johnny Brodzinski, I think he's just going to be possibly a solid kind of, extra forward there like he has been for a while. Very well could be in the lineup there. I'm not against him in the lineup either, but I just think for right now, this is kind of my prediction there with Johnny Brodzinski just on the outside looking in, with Brendan Brisson also probably starting in the AHL, but he is someone who's had some games in the past there, is still quite young, mostly a good kind of AHLer, but maybe gets called up there, can play center and wing, versatile, so I think there's maybe a little bit more there with Brendan Brisson, but at the end of the day, he's probably just going to be a good AHL player, but he's just some extra kind of depth there, which is never a bad thing to have. And now for the actual lineup combinations here, we have for the fourth line, Adam Edstrom, Sam Carrick, Matt Rempe. For the third line, we have Taylor Radish, one of the newest pickups, of course, Juuso Parssinen, and Brendan Hoffman. For the second line, we have Will Cooley, JT Miller, Mika Zibanejad on the right wing, and then up top, we have Artemi Panarin, Vincent Trocheck, and Alexis Lafreniere. So this is kind of what I think we're going to possibly see as of right now to begin the upcoming season for the lineup for the Rangers. That's kind of my guess as of right now. Like I said, though, things can definitely change quite a bit. Injuries can happen. Poor play can happen throughout training camp. A preseason good play can happen, which can change things around. Trades, signings, lots of stuff can change before the upcoming season there. So we've got a long time to really kind of wait before we actually see what the lineup is going to look like. But this is just kind of my early prediction here on what I think we're going to see for the opening night lineup. That's not necessarily what I want to see, but this is kind of my guess there. Taylor Radish, I believe, is more of a right winger, so often can go to the left as well. He can play both sides, so we'll have to see what they kind of want to do there. But at the end of the day, that's kind of basically what I think we're probably going to see. Hoffman, Berard, and Perreault, like I said, I think we're only going to see one of them to begin the season there. Maybe later on we see multiple, but that's kind of my guess just to begin the season there. They're going to go with a more of a kind of veteran lineup there. I'm assuming. I could be wrong, and if I am wrong, yay, I guess, right? Then we're seeing two of the top kind of NHL-ready prospects there in the system actually playing. But I just think, as of right now, my guess is we're only going to see one of them. And for that kind of third-line role, playing alongside Juuso and a guy like, of course, Taylor Radish. I feel like I would probably go with Offman there, or Berard even. Him or Berard, they're kind of an easy kind of swap there. If you want to go with Berard over Offman, I fully get that. Berard obviously had a lot more production at the NHL level as well, so if you just kind of want to swap Berard in there for Offman, I am all for that as well. I definitely would make a lot of sense, but I just don't kind of love a guy like Gabe Perreault being slotted in there on that third line alongside Uso and Taylor Radish, because I don't think you're going to get a lot out of it, or as much as you kind of could possibly get out of him if he were in a different role. And also, I don't think that's what's kind of best for his development, because we know he is an all-offensive, kind of skilled kind of forward like an Artemi Panarin kind of type there. So throwing him down there on the third line where he's not going to get power play one time, not going to get top line minutes, of course, not going to be playing alongside some kind of higher end skilled players. So to me, that's not the spot to put a guy like Gabe Perreault in. So I'd rather see him in the AHL where he could develop and get that kind of top line minutes there and be the kind of focal point of that team. So I would much rather see a guy like Gabe Perreault start in the AHL and have either Offman or Berard in that third line kind of role there, or possibly maybe we even do see, all three of those guys out of the lineup there, and maybe we see a guy like Johnny Brodzinski kind of take that spot over him, or even Justin Dowling possibly as well. I guess he's kind of in the mix also, but my guess is he won't be in the lineup to begin for opening night. But anyways, definitely, if you haven't already, comment down below your thoughts on my lineup predictions here. Like I said, this is kind of what I'm guessing we're going to see, not what I want to see. But as always, definitely comment down below your thoughts, whether you agree or disagree on my predictions here. Kind of what do you want to see as well for the lineup? And also, don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content, as I do post every single day a video at 10 a.m. Eastern Time talking about the New York Rangers. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next one, and let's go Rangers.